What's up, guys? We're back again. Another Teach Me Tuesday. Happy to be on your social media platforms and just get a chance to talk to you again. Today's episode is going. We're going to talk about, ask yourself the question: What if you have, what if the home that you buy today can set up your children, your grandchildren, for financial success for the future? Thinking about what a home can do for you long term and what it can do for the financial success of your lineage, man, let's dive in. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about home ownership, the foundation of a legacy, how you can leverage equity and not to liquidate it, and a whole lot of other stuff. We're gonna jump in and dive in and give you guys some good insight on how to create generational wealth to pass down, through your lineage, what you're gonna leave behind when you gone. So let's talk about it. Gavin, LaShawn, Wilmot, how you guys feeling about today's topic?
Oh, this is such a good one.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, guys. I think this is a great topic. And I mean, if you want to know about wealth, I mean, if you don't, I understand. Go to something else. If you don't want to hear anything about wealth, I totally understand.
But I love it. I think it's such a great topic. I think it's definitely a topic that needs to be discussed a lot more. I think deep down inside, everyone has that burning desire to live a great lifestyle, so they can be able to afford the things that they want to do in life. And to be honest, I might be a little bit biased, but to me, home ownership to me is number one in my book. Owning a home, start building a real estate portfolio is the biggest way to really start. Creating wealth is definitely a way to create a legacy, something that you can pass down, to your family and other generations. So when we talk about home ownership and we talk about the foundation of legacy, right? This right here is one of the most accessible steps to me when it comes to generational wealth. I know what buying a house have done for Gavin and I and our family, the things that we've been able to do because we leverage real estate. And I think if people have the opportunity to be educated in this space, then that's what we're here for, right? That's what we're here to do. So let's talk about teaching your children, right, about the mindset of home ownership early. I don't know how you grew up, Wilmot, and you, Gavin, too, as well. Like, was that ever a topic of conversation? Did your parents own a house when you guys were little? And did y'all talk about the importance of owning a house versus renting? Any
You know,
one of you guys.
Not necessarily in my household. Growing up, we always pretty much almost lived in a home, but we rented several different homes. Um, so it wasn't necessarily a thing where we sat down and talked about, hey, when you grow up, the goal is to own a home. This is what it can, how it can provide you financial stability and set you up for success long term. So no, it wasn't a topic of conversation, at the dinner table or focus, and not until later in life when my mom
What about
pushed
you,
me.
Wilmot? Oh, go ahead, Gavin. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, 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 that's all right.
What about you, Wilmot?
yeah,
Don't laugh at us.
like husband wife duel. I love it. I love it so much. Right? Yeah, if my wife was on here, y'all have a ball right now. Like,
We
dude,
got to get Jessica on an
oh
episode.
man,
I think we
gotta
need her
bring her on.
energy.
Gotta bring her on the show.
Yeah.
Gotta bring her on the show. Maybe even bring my little ones on here too. I might get some more likes or whatever. So, but now we never like sat down at the dinner table. But I'm gonna tell you one thing we did do. We used to ride through some of the nice neighborhoods, right? Oh man, look at that. Oh man, look at that. Ooh, that's a nice one, right? And my dad reminded me because it's so funny and God is an amazing God. Right? I remember my dad um, reminded me about this. He said he used to take me through this specific neighborhood in Orangeburg, and he was like, and I would say, I was like, Dad, it'll be great to raise a family in this neighborhood, right? Because I see people walking, riding golf carts, fishing, different things of that nature. And the Lord has blessed, me and my family to live in that same neighborhood that I talked about when I was a kid. So like, um, I just know that, it never was really a talk about, hey, this is how you create wealth, you know.
Hmm.
But I've seen my mom, my dad utilize, leverage their home to, do other things, make other investments, So like now I'm learning different ways we can leverage some of the equity we have in the home to be able to do other things as well. So yeah.
That is wonderful and so
So
beautiful. I love that.
listen,
Go
I
ahead,
was
Gabby.
going to ask you this though. So I guess for you, kind of giving people like why start with ownership? Like why is home ownership the first and most successful step
Mm.
in building generational wealth? What is it about the power of appreciation and equity growth over time that makes it such a great thing to set up financial success in the future?
So to me, same thing, very similar. It wasn't necessarily like a topic of conversation in my household. It was something that was kind of like a you should do it, but it was never really the understanding the really big why behind,
Mm.
what does homeownership really means besides you just have a place to stay. Not until my adult years, until we, after we purchased our first home and we sold it, did the light bulb go off in my head. Like, oh, this money's mine. I made this by just living in this house for, 5 years or something like that. Then it kind of started changing the trajectory and my perspective of the way I thought about home ownership. And I think that's important for people because most people need to, they should invest their money into something, right? Most people automatically, if you work for an employer, you put your money in a 401k. Or if you, just have a banking account, you put your money in a savings account or maybe a little money market account because you want to gain a little interest to start saving. But nobody really thinks about, hey, let me buy a house. Let me truly think about the appreciation that homes bring and how that appreciation is equivalent to cash value and how that cash value is equivalent to wealth and how that wealth can then be passed down to another generation and so forth, right? A lot of times that is just completely obsolete. And then don't get me wrong, a part of me feels like systemically we are conditioned to think a certain way and that we're not necessarily taught or educated in this space. So it's kind of like ignorance is bliss to a certain extent as well. And you don't know what you don't know. So to me, the importance of leveraging equity and not just bypassing it for the convenience of rent is hands down the way to go because it will do far much more for a person, an individual, and a family and generations to come than it could ever do, for somebody that just wants to rent a property or rent an apartment or something like that.
Oh,
You know,
good stuff. Good stuff.
so
What you got?
LaShawn, LaShawn brought up something that I thought was really, really cool. And I never really thought about it like this, but it's almost like a no-brainer.
Mhm.
And hear me out when I say this. You gotta have a place to live, right? You gotta lay your head somewhere, right? And I get it. I know like people look at home ownership as a daunting task, or like, man, that's huge, or that's a big deal. And I get it. It is. It's a big investment. But I think about like, there's a lot of people out there that saying, no, don't buy a house, don't do that, don't. But guess what? That same person gotta lay their head somewhere. Okay, they gotta pay. They're paying either their own mortgage or they're paying someone else's mortgage. So I want you to think about that. Like, hey, you might not be a owner of the property, but guess what? You're paying someone some money to live in that property. Why not benefit by owning the property yourself? You see what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I think that's a cool way to kind of put it because you want to lay your head somewhere and you might be paying the same
Mm-hmm.
amount or a little bit less. I mean, let's be real. You probably paying a little bit less than for you to probably own something instead of just renting it. So, yeah.
I love that. That's
Yeah, I
so
mean,
good.
and also, I mean,
Okay.
in a lot of cases, you guys are paying, you're paying more
Mm,
to rent than sometimes to because think about it, especially if you're renting a house, Well, that person who owns that house is trying to make a profit from you living there. So their cost should be, your cost is going to be higher than what their cost is for owning that property. So sometimes you could be paying less by owning a home as opposed to renting one. So Sean, you was about to say something?
Yeah, I know, Wilma, you had some great stats we were kind of talking about. Like hit them with some of the statistics, and then we're gonna switch gears and just really talking about some planning and some giving you guys some tools on that you guys can use. So, what are some of the stats that you researched?
So I found out that 44% African Americans own a home. Okay, and 75% of Caucasian own a home. So you think about the gap there. 44% African Americans, 75% Caucasians, they own a home. So look at that gap between, and it's a huge number. I forgot how many millions or billions of dollars that equates to when it comes to pushing back into the economy and creating generational wealth for our legacy. So like, just think about like, man, if we could, get up there 50%, 60%, man, that's millions and billions of dollars that could be passed down to our kids and our kids. So yeah.
Yeah, man. Yes.
And
I'm a numbers person. Oh, were you saying something, Kevin? I'm sorry.
No, I'm not saying the importance of those statistics is like, also knowing as we do become, that we lessen that gap, and not that we're lessening that gap. We're just trying to improve our numbers in our communities.
Right.
We want more and more African Americans to become homeowners, so that they can enjoy the financial stability and legacy to pass down generational wealth. And as we do that, how you do it, even though you go out and own a home, you still have to also know how to leverage the equity in your home to continuously grow and not just become a single homeowner, because that's the goal. But the bigger goal is to own multiple real estate or own real estate that brings in additional income.
Right.
So, there's all different types of homes that you can, properties you can own out there, multi-dwellings, 1, 2, 3 unit homes, or apartment complexes. There are there's several different things out there, several different property types that you can own to help build a generational wealth. So I just want to throw that out there with those statistics.
Yeah, and then adding to that is so some people may want to know, we always try to make sure we give you practical tools. Well, how do I do that, right? I have a desire to build wealth for my family. I have a I have a duty to leave a legacy for, the generations to come. So how do I start, right? What do I do? So if you're a homeowner, right, kind of like what I mentioned early on, is you have something called equity in your home. And so you can borrow against the equity in your home that will then allow you to purchase these, 1, 2, or 3 unit or even 4 unit properties. So you can use the cash value that the house that you're currently living in have, and then you can take that money and invest it into another piece of real estate. And so you want to make sure that, you definitely speak with professionals, that you make sure you get the numbers to make sure the cash flow is there, right? You don't want to just, buy and invest, just not strategically, but that's an option, right? That's an option that you can start building your real estate portfolio. We may not have enough time today to kind of really dive deep into that. Maybe that's something we do in the future, but that's one way that you can do so, is by leveraging the equity by either refinancing, doing a home equity line of credit, or anything along those lines, so that you can use that money to then put it into something else.
I want to, before we get off, I want to tie in, like jumping back from the beginning and giving people actionable, something that you need to start doing today. If you're not a homeowner currently, and you desire to be a homeowner, take your children through the process with you as well. Start, we all discussed in the beginning of the episode, none of us really talked about home ownership with our parents inside the home. Like it wasn't a taught thing per se. And it's not taught in school either. So if it's not taught in school, we aren't talking about it at home. Guess what? The next generation just doesn't care, doesn't know about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it falls on it's our responsibility in our homes to start building the next generation to know the importance of what that is. So I just challenge everybody. If you don't own a home right now, you can still be talking about home ownership. You can still be learning about it. You can still be teaching the next generation how important this is, and show the example of what you're trying to do to achieve that goal yourself, and let our next generation journey with you through that, so that they can understand it and be able to leverage it a lot sooner, and also be able to continue to build up a community, continue to change the legacy and lineage, the lineage of our lineages as we continue to grow wealthier and wealthier as we leave this earth.
That's good stuff. So one thing I'm going to add, and just made me think about what you said. And so, like, I know, like, in our household, in the Abraham household, our children, they just remind us of just how they, they don't have the same privileges as us when I was a kid, or the things that they get introduced to. So our kids never, had the opportunity to ever live in an apartment. When we had our kids, we already owned a house. So when our kids finally seen an apartment or went through someone's apartment, they were just confused. They thought it was literally a hotel. They was like, "Mommy, why do these people, live in a hotel?" And we're like, "Well, sweetheart, these aren't hotels. Like, people live in apartments, and nothing wrong with people who live in apartments. I rented plenty of apartments in my day, but our kids do not know that lifestyle.
Yeah, they never experienced it.
They never experienced that. And sometimes we may take that for granted, you know what I mean? But that's the reality, because we bought a home at the age of 23 and 24 years old. And so we had kids after that. And so our kids never got to experience that. So they already kind of have a mindset of, hey, I would live in this type of property versus the other. So that's just some food for thought, guys, for you guys to always keep in the back of your mind. Preparation is the key. Even if you feel like you're not ready right now to buy a house, you can reach out to any one of us, and we will help you and journey alongside of you with that process of buying a home. Okay. All right. Well, that's all our time for today, guys. So thank you once again for tuning in to this episode of Teach Me Tuesday. And so we see you guys next week.
Peace.